Hello everyone. The power of kindness in this battle to save lives can never be underestimated. On this occasion of World Suicide Prevention Day, I urge each one of you, especially the ones who work with young minds, to value life more than the rules, to value love more than awards, and to value humanity over all artificial constructs. This video is an attempt, a labor of love by our students who need more of our support rather than advice. Do share it widely. Thank you.
The first time I ever felt like dying was when I was 5 years old. The thought of being dead seemed so much easier than being alive. I circumvented being in a bad headspace with self-harm. There was no reason to get out of bed. Also, every happy moment was just a reminder that the pain was permanent and couldn't go away. I did try calling multiple suicide helpline numbers, but many were not active at night, when it hit the hardest. The one that went through had an operator that hung up on me. I've had few attempts, but none that worked. It's strange how much has changed since. I lost interest in all my hobbies, when I didn't have any friendships, and when I didn't know how to deal with my emotions properly. I didn't have healthy outlets or support system. The reason that I had my last suicidal thought was because of sexual assault trauma I had faced as a child that made me want to kill myself. Always felt like harming myself intensely when I was not able to act perfectly or up to my expectations, which at that time might have been unrealistic. My childhood friend did commit suicide a year ago, and when coming into situations where I was not able to manage my emotions, I always said she took the right step by ending her life. I felt like the entire world was in opposition to me and that I had no future. I believed that the problems I was facing at that time would never leave me and that the only way to escape continuous and prolonged suffering was to end my life. I was already in a deep depression. My childhood dog passed away in 2022 and I felt like I paid very little attention to him. People were leaving me because they felt left out, until it was eventually me and one girl who later replaced me. When I confronted her, she blamed me. Even another new friend group kicked me out because I was crying on my problems that didn't even exist. I ended up with no friends and school did so little to help me in my situation. During an existential crisis, I often wondered after facing so many problems, after doing so much, I have to die in the end. Why do I have to endure so much pain? These thoughts led me to consider ending my life as a way to escape. The love of my parents is too toxic because it is more of possessiveness than protection. I constantly fight with my parents and they expect me to be perfect, which is not possible as no one is perfect. Their expectations are way higher than my capability. There isn't a single peaceful day at home. I avoid being at home, and even if I am there, I avoid being in the conversation as it turns into nagging. The words my mom uses are extremely hurtful. They love and care for me, but at times it is very suffocating for me. Others have to hurt me. The world is cruel and there is no generosity. Everybody is hurt because of someone, and they hurt you because somebody hurt them. I get panic attacks, and that is very embarrassing. I feel like I have been neglected my whole life. Growing up in a loveless house with an alcoholic father and arguing parents made me want to give up my life.
I was 13 in a new area. I had just lost my sister earlier that year and I had a handful of friends that weren't really friends. And my boyfriend also killed himself later that year. I suppose I felt lonely and isolated and that I forced everyone around me to somehow die.
Abusive parents and unhealthy relationship with my friends. I had zero support and could not cope up with the loneliness. Yes, I've felt like ending my life. My mom has been suffering from cancer. It's been hard for me lately to handle stuff. I have college and assignments to submit, and academic pressure gets too much. I also have a brother who's a special child, and I can't leave him alone. And he needs the attention. And I have to be with him all day because my parents are in hospital most of the time. And it's too much to bear. And I feel very helpless and lonely. I can't talk about this with anyone, especially my parents. They already have too much on their plate. I felt like ending my life, but then I remember I want to be successful to give my family a better life. And that is the only thing that's keeping me going right now. The main reason for it is the pressure of studies from teachers and our parents. But mainly I think it's the environment in our schools and colleges that just makes us feel like that.
Hi. Have you ever felt lonely, miserable? Like you're carrying the weight of some nameless dread on your shoulders? Like there's no hope, that things will never improve, and that it might be better just to end it all. Have you ever felt suicidal? If you have, know that you are not alone. Many people feel this way, often. And if you have felt this way, know that help is at hand. Things are never as bad as they seem. So, use a lifeline. Call a friend or just show up at their door. Even if you have not spoken to them for a long time or have consciously shut them out. If you can't do that, find a street dog and give it some food. Pet it and see the love that shines out of its eyes. Or maybe look for a flower. Look at its beauty deeply. See how it grows and blooms without carrying the weight of anybody's expectations. Look for glimmers. What are glimmers? Have you ever seen fireflies? On dark, cloudless, monsoon nights, they shine intermittently, so brightly that it dispels the darkness. Look for glimmers. What are glimmers? They are your blessings. What do you have? The cup half full. So count your blessings. See what they are. It'll make you feel better. And finally, take one step at a time. One day at a time. It is enough. You are enough. Tomorrow will take care of itself. And like the night, this too shall pass. In the words of Donna Ashworth, so long as you cry when you must, laugh when you can, and love those you have, every day that your little broken heart beats, you will be okay. You will be okay. See you. Take care. Bye.
The theme for this year's World Suicide Prevention Day is Change the Narrative. There is a lot of stigma attached to any mental health or emotional health issue. There is tremendous stigma attached to suicide, to a person who may attempt suicide or a person who thinks of or contemplates suicide. We may think that the person is weak, that the person is flawed or defective in some way. Each of us have different kinds of coping mechanisms and different abilities to cope with life stresses. What happens to a person who is suicidal is that there is an intense overwhelm of emotions. There is a sort of a tunnel vision. The person may not see light at the end of the tunnel. There is a feeling that, either things are hopeless or there is just no point trying. This may often be accompanied by feelings of being worthless or like feeling a burden to someone, or the person may even think that, they feel trapped or stuck in a situation which they can't get out of. In this scenario, what becomes really important is to provide a safe environment for someone who wants to reach out for help. The signs that you can look out for are of someone who's troubled or someone who you think may be contemplating suicide is to see, whether there have been any life scenarios that have been particularly very hard for the individual to face, how the individual has been coping, has the person been withdrawing into self, has there been persistent low mood, has the person distanced himself or themselves from family and friends, has there been no attempt to reach out on the part of that person, have there been expressions that things are hopeless or they have felt trapped or felt stuck. These are some of the things that may indicate that the person is grappling with something that he or she is feeling very, very intensely difficult to cope. What can you do when someone does reach out to you? It is very normal and understandable that you may feel very confused and you may be very frightened when someone who is suicidal talks to you about what they are feeling, because these are very, very intense and very difficult emotions for that person and for you as well to hear. What you do not want to do is to be in a hurry to jump in and fix their problem or give advice or give solutions or to minimize what they are saying and to say that, oh, cheer up, there's nothing to worry about. Because in the person's mind, there is something that we can call psych ache, an intense psychological pain or ache, which they feel will not stop. And the only way out is that, they have to take their own lives or end their life. So it is really, really important that, we create an environment of trust, which means that in spite of your own feelings of confusion or intense fright inside of you, what you want to do is to listen deeply to what the person is telling you. Do listen. Draw with the person in terms of what they are feeling. It is okay if you suspect that, maybe the person is sounding suicidal and, could that person have suicide on their minds? It is alright for you to ask, have you contemplated taking your life? Because you do sound like, hopeless, or you do sound like you feel that there is no light at the end of the tunnel. It is alright to ask a person directly. If you can't and all you can do is listen, please do that. As I said, restrain yourself from advising. The other thing that you can do, which is of great help, is to reach out to a mental health practitioner, because sometimes individuals who feel this way may require specialized or professional help.
Kajal Makwana here, psychologist and a curiosity therapist. As per my experience, suicide is preventable. Let me tell you some of the ways you can use to advocate for suicide prevention. First is that Get curious, get intentionally curious about the context of the person who is mentioning about harm to self. Sometimes harm to self can be indicated in a very subtle form, such as, I don't feel like waking up tomorrow. I'm not looking forward to the day. Yeah. So intentional curiosity can help you understand where this person coming from, and you will be able to support them in that way. Second is that there is nothing like attention seeking. Trust me on this. When someone is mentioning about suicide, take it seriously. Get into the conversation to understand how they would want you to support them. Third, always ask. Please do this. Always ask how the person wants to be supported. Right? Contextual understanding of what support means to them really matters. Yeah. Sometimes we may have few ways to support somebody, few convenient ways to support somebody, but maybe that is not relevant in their context, right? Maybe not relevant in their subjective life experience. So it's very important to have contextual understanding of what support means to them. Yeah. Fourth, there are many ways you can support them. One of the strongest way is that sending helpline numbers. You can ask them to reach out to certain helpline who are working in the space of suicide prevention. But before you do that, check if these helplines are working well or not. Are they functioning well? What are their timings? Who are the counselor, possible counselor they can speak to. So take efforts, take some efforts, and try to understand if these helplines are working well. It's not like somebody mentioning about harm to self, we're just sending them helpline and a job is done. No, that's not advocating for suicide prevention. And the fifth one, very important, is that holding spaces in small pockets, in different ways, in diverse ways. Holding spaces to talk about death and suicide is very important. I feel it will help many people to open up about their experiences of suicide or what they're going through internally. And such spaces group spaces especially, can help them to make meaning of what they're feeling and understand whom they can reach out to, how they can reach out to, and what they can do. Yeah, I hope this is helpful.
If somebody comes to you and tells you, I'm tired, I want to give up, I don't want to live anymore. So these are 3 things that you can tell the person. Number 1, tell them that you understand what they're going through. It is very difficult and it can be very challenging for somebody to go through what they're going through. That's why they've reached a place where they want to give up, right? Number 2, tell them that you're there for them. I'm here for you. I'm listening to you. We'll figure this out together. And number 3, be with them in the journey. And you can also tell them, let's go to a professional. I'll be there with you. Let's talk to somebody who can help us guide through this. Because it's not necessary that you have the solution for their problem, right? The least you can do is be there for them and listen to them.
Hello. The World Health Organization estimates more than 1 million deaths by suicide every year. It is essential for us to understand that a death by suicide is never an isolated incident and rather creates a ripple effect, making those around them more vulnerable to these quotes. So when it comes to prevention, any idea or thought shared by any vulnerable individual should never be taken lightly. This is rather their attempt to seek help. When it comes to decision making, they should always feel like they are the ones in power and we're just there to support them through this journey. Language makes a tremendous amount of difference. So rather than using words like you or your problems or your journey, try using words like us. We will deal with this together and I'm always there to support you in this journey. Most importantly, encourage them to seek help. Remember, it takes a village to raise a child and also to continue keeping them safe. So stay safe and stay healthy.